Odo is a rat. We get a Chakotay mention, and Kira and Bareil have some pretty racy dreams together. Hello, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are covering Deep Space Nine Season 2, Episode 2, The Circle, directed by Corey Allen. How you doing, Cirroc?
Doing all right. Doing okay.
So
yeah, that was a racy scene there, that dream sequence, huh?
Are we just going to skip ahead to that? I mean, that's kind of the elephant in the room, right?
That's the most important thing about the episode.
Before we do that, let's talk about J.J. Lendl for a second, because our buddy J.J. Lendl designs the beautiful artwork you see behind me. And those of you listening in, there's artwork behind me. He also did the wonderful Captain Nog Forever artwork that has helped so much, and we thank all of you for that. Please check out jjlendl.com. That's jjlendl.com. Excellent customer service, excellent work. And back to Kira and Bareil. What do you think of that, Cirroc?
Well, it was one of those scenes that, when you read the script, you're a little fearful of having, I guess.
I thought of that too. As I was like, I wonder if they looked on the scene, they looked at the script and they're like, whoa, where is this going?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, whoa, this is not exactly what I was expecting her dream sequence to be about, which was interesting. No, I remember when we did an episode, and I don't remember the name of the episode, but I was being kind of possessed by this vampire-ish lady, and she was sucking my brainwaves as I was writing.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and in that episode, it was originally written with a scene like that, where instead of her, the two of us sitting on the couch while I'm writing and she's sucking my brainwaves, we were in bed together. And I remember reading that and thinking, oh, whoa, this is a love scene for Jake, which they were actually smart enough to undo because it was an underage kind of thing. But, it wasn't probably appropriate at the time. But I remember reading it thinking, oh, what do I have to do? What's going to be required of me? Am I going to be, actually doing this love scene in the bed? How do they film it? What are you wearing? Those kinds of things. And I'm sure when I saw Nana with her, her hand over her chest, I was thinking to myself just about what the conditions of the set were like. I'm sure it was a closed set. That sometimes they make you wear these see-through kinds of things that cover you but don't cover you.
Did you ever have to wear one of those?
I never had to wear one of those, and thankfully they rewrote that episode. I was actually nervous about it, because it was a big deal for me. And then they changed the script. But in that case, she's already an adult, so it was not a big deal as much.
Yeah, but we certainly haven't seen much of anything like that with the Kira character. It almost felt, I don't want to say forced, but it certainly
it looked forced.
It kind of came out of nowhere, I was like,
it looked like that.
At first, she's just talking to Dax, and that's cool, everything's fine. Suddenly, she's just naked and like this, and holding her.
And then he comes up behind her, like the way he comes up behind her looks like
come up behind
a soap on the rope jailhouse type of moment.
I don't get the reference. What is that?
Well, I'll explain it to you off the air. But yes, it was a little awkward the way he kind of crept into the scene behind her, with his shirt off. I don't know what else was off, but it just looked a little bit like, okay, is this where we're going? Because I had no idea. The freedom fighter obviously had been locked. He had been locked away on that camp too long. I think he said he was 10 years on that Bajoran work camp.
This was Bareil, Vedic Bareil, not the other guy.
Oh, it's not the other guy. No, okay.
No, so he's like a religious guy.
Right,
like
he's the
Vedic
religious
man.
one. Right. No, he Well, obviously they don't have rules against that in their religion, because he mentioned to her that she was in his dream when he saw the orb, right?
He's like, so,
So,
nowadays he'd be like texting, he'd be like, I had a dream about you. Did you dream about me?
I'll meet you at the orb around 8:30.
What was your dream about? I don't know. What was your dream about first?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
I
Yeah,
mean, unless yours was about something.
Exactly. Exactly. And I wonder, in his dream, was he the one standing in the front and she came up behind him? You know.
Guys,
You
we're
never
just
know.
getting started.
You never know. Sorry. You brought it up, so we had to get right into it.
But it is true that, like, it did seem kind of out of place. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason for it, and these writers get paid the big bucks for that. But, like, it did kind of take me by surprise. Where I was like, oh, did I miss something? Why is she suddenly, holding her boobs? And then the guy, so that was already kind of out there. And then suddenly there's also a naked dude, and then he just kind of looms up behind her. And he's just like, hey,
what are you doing?
do you mind that I'm like right behind you right now? Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah, they have laws for that now.
Yeah.
But that was a Me Too dream sequence. But there were other things that I thought were a little bit out of place. That was one of them. That was, a bold one. I didn't think it necessarily fit with the story.
Okay.
They could have had them kind of hook up if they wanted to have them, if they were trying to make an unannounced attraction between the two. But I didn't necessarily think it needed to be involved with the orb. But setting aside my own criticism of that, I actually did not like the opening scene where in the beginning everybody was coming to say bye to Kira's character. And the only reason I feel that way is because I don't feel like
that did feel a little that kind of felt a little like a sitcom.
It was sitcom-y.
It seemed a little overwritten there.
Yeah, eight people walking in on a room.
Oh, hey, you too?
Hey, another one. Yeah, and I brought some glasses of wine. And okay, I'm here too. And the reason why I thought that was weird is because I didn't feel so far now, up to this point, that there was that kind of camaraderie between all of them. I didn't feel like they earned that level of relationship. Now, if that happened at the end of the 7 seasons or season 6, then I would say, okay, we've got 6 seasons of them building up this friendship. You've got all these moments between everybody, and this is something you want to say goodbye. But I think it was too many people in that room. I think that scene could have been just her and Renee.
Yeah.
Just talking, the two of them, without having the extra.
Speaking of which, there was a really good line that Renee did, where she said, he said, you've made a living off breaking the rules. And she said, well, maybe I broke one too many. And he says, Major, you've been breaking one too many rules for 14 and a half years. Harumph.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a little, and it was funny because that scene sounded sitcom-y. Actually, it sounded more theater-ish. It looked like a stage play, the way that scene felt. A little bit too over dramatic in some ways, because, and then it goes right back to the quiet, talking normal way that we've set the tone for the show all this time. So, except for that scene was really high paced, almost like when they were in the newsroom on Far Beyond the Stars. In the period piece, the dialogue felt like that, There was another thing that I liked, since you mentioned the Odo Kira interaction in that scene, the same one that you just quoted from, where he says something to the effect of, "You came in tough, and I've been breaking you in." And then she laughs and says, "I thought I've been breaking you in," or something to that effect, right? Yeah. So they were both kind of mentioning that they were trying to have the one-up relationship on each other, which I thought was great. But we saw Odo as a rat. What about that?
Yeah, let's go back a little at the beginning here, I did want to talk about just for a second. This was the first time we got a little glimpse. At the very beginning, we get a glimpse of Commander Sisko being a little bit more brooding, a little bit, like in season one, they kind of had him more as like a lighter kind of commander. And we all know that the direction he goes is more brooding and quiet and tough, And we saw a little bit more of that in the beginning when Kira's leaving, and he just kind of says, I'll get you back and that kind of stuff. And I thought it was cool that was kind of, at least to me, that was that first time we got to see a little foreshadowing of the Sisko that's going to show up in another season or two.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing, and there was another moment where Sisko goes into the Bajoran general to give him information, and the general says, "You could have easily bargained that information to get Kira back on your station, but you didn't." And he says, "I would never do that," and kind of walks away. So you're getting you're getting a serious, more a more abrasive version of Sisko right now. He's starting to really flex his muscles a little bit and be cool.
It's good to see. Great. It's good to see that that's how the second season's starting. Like they already started kind of adjusting, starting in the beginning of the second season. And then
I think they take a big risk, by the way, Ryan, with this 3-part episode.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's just, I feel like I don't have the end of the story, because we don't have the end of the story as of right now. So it's hard to see where they're going with it and what it's going to be. And so it's almost too much of I think a 3-parter is too much. I don't mind a 2-parter.
And you're right. It is a risk. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Deep Space Nine was for 7 years, was a risk.
Just rolling the dice. Yeah.
They went with the commander instead of a captain. They went with a station instead of a ship. They went with a little bit more serialized. I mean, so they were taking risks from the beginning. And you're right. This is one of them where they're like, episode 1 of season 2, they're like, let's try something new. Let's see what we can do here. I think it's cool that they were at least afforded, that to where they said, you can be as creative as you want to be. You can take risks. You can try stuff out. Maybe some of it didn't work. We'll see. I think it's working okay so far. I mean, I wasn't terribly interested in Bajoran politics, now I don't mind it as much. Now I'm like, okay, it's pretty interesting. It's the kind of thing where as a writer, you have to be careful, because in your mind, it's way more interesting. The world that you're creating is so fascinating. You're like, oh, they'll have this and there's this and that. But it's you have to be careful, because other people might not think it's as interesting. So far, I think they're doing a great job with it, of course. I remember back in the day, the first couple seasons didn't do much for me. But this one's working out okay. We'll see. You're right. We'll find out next episode. We'll see if it actually works out, or if it missed a little bit.
Yeah, and they're also they're building up the other Vedic. Is it Kai Opaka? Is that her?
That's Vedic Win. Yeah,
Vedic Win.
Yeah,
and she's
my
being
child,
built up.
The lady that says "my child." Yeah, everybody. Yeah,
and she's like the queen of condescension.
Yes, she is. She is all the way through.
She has a line in the episode where she says, "You can stay as many days as you like, even a week."
Like, all the way up to a week,
up to 7 days, just full 7 days. But after that, get the hell out of here.
Brilliant,
and I just the way she phrases stuff and her looks and her mannerisms, she's really talking down to people all the time.
Yes.
And and I look at, for what purpose? That's really what jumps out at me at this point. It's like, well, why is she such a a BIT? So why is she so conniving where it would be that obvious? I would think that if she was really working on a master plan, that she would try to be more, uh, hiding her feelings or hiding her true alter her motivations. Disguise it a little bit, but she's not disguised at all. She's I've got a plan, and I'm not going to tell you, and you're in the way of it.
My
So I
child.
will, my child. So I will get rid of you when the time is necessary.
Yeah, and she, as you know, she's around for the next 6 seasons all the way to
Right.
the end. And people love to hate her. She's one of the top.
Well, that's what she's like. She's the person. You just love to hate her, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come in, you see her, like, oh God, what does she want?
Yeah, that's great writing and great acting if they can
great
do that.
Right. Absolutely.
It's the time. It's when there's somebody you don't care about that it's it's a miss. But then we also, not to skip too much over anything, but let's not forget the elephant in the room here. Jake Sisko says, "You better come down here and look at this."
Yeah.
Now, why is that important? Well, because that's right before, that's like the big cliffhanger at the end of the very first segment. So I was like, oh, that's cool. They threw you the big cliffhanger. You better come down and see the circle with the squiggly line design. That was pretty cool.
They threw that to me. I mean, and then the episode was really interesting because they mentioned they're dealing with a coup, essentially, right? The Bajoran coup over the what do they call it? The interim government or provisional government?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting topic because, once again, I don't know how the writers on DS9 did this or if it was intentional or not, but the themes that they talk about are literally in the headlines today.
It's really interesting. It keeps happening. Now, in this case, I was trying to think what's the metaphor for us here, because the Federation is helping out another race elsewhere, and then the bad guy race that's also kind of our enemy is feeding this upheaval, this coup. And now the Federation is supposed to decide, do we stay here and protect these people, even though they don't theoretically want it, because we know that it's these other guys that are feeding it, or do we just say, hey, it's not our problem, we can't interfere? And it sounds, that's definitely stuff that's going on in the Middle East with regime changes and things like that, and foreign powers kind of influencing that. I mean, I don't know. So that's why I'm kind of curious to see where the third episode goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I can't think of specifically the example that you're talking about, but what I saw that was mentioned in the episode was a kind of a hint to it being a Bajoran on Bajoran, fighting within infighting, and that brings up the question whether how much to get involved when you're going to be killing the same people that you're supposedly protecting, right?
Yeah.
And so, I find that to be, the case in when you talk about the Middle East. You talk about what level of involvement do you have when people are trying to overthrow the system that they're in. Do you help finance those people to overthrow, or do you support the provisional government so that it functions better? And I'm sure these are the real life decisions that our leaders around the world have to deal with, right?
And even more so, just to add to it is, and you're right, yes, but then on top of that is that then you've got the admiral making the decision for Sisko, saying, here is our decision. We are going to leave. And of course, Sisko seems to think that that's the wrong answer.
That's the wrong decision.
And so he quite cleverly comes up with a reason why, oh, well, we have to stick around. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's take our break right now. Because we're jumping all over the map. Now all of a sudden we're talking about the end, and I want to save the end. Not that it matters.
Well, the end will be next episode, probably, at least for this 3-parter.
Yeah, no, but anyway, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back with the 7th rule.